Hello and welcome back to the Honor Space and an edition of NXT Out of 10. And yeah, this is a big episode of NXT. We're building up to NXT Homecoming next week at the Full Sail University with lots of big kind of segments set out for there. And we also got tag titles online here with Dark State taking on Hank and Tank. But we started things off with Javon Evans walking through the crowd to the ring, calling out Josh Briggs. He didn't waste any time coming out to respond. Evans leapt out the ring to kickstart a brawl. Once they got into the ring, Evans nailed a kick, followed by a frog splash for a close 2. The young OG stayed on his opponent and kept Briggs on the defence until the big man was able to get in a few shots to take control. Evans made a comeback, but Briggs yanked him off the apron and face hit hard. Evans recovered and ended up hitting a suicide dive that sent both men over the announce table. They battled for a break and into the next segment. Both men got into big moves, but it was Briggs who got the win when he countered Evans coming off the top rope with a huge shot to the head with a chain wrapped around his hand. The match started out hot and never really lost momentum. Evans one of the brightest spots, and Briggs, is shown to be a reliable performer, taking on Evans. A great match to help the crowd get into the right shape of mind for the show. 6 out of 10. When we returned from a break, DIY was in the ring. Ciampa said returning to NXT always feels special, especially with the 10-year anniversary close. It didn't take long for Trick to interrupt. Hayes joined the party and immediately felt like a bigger deal here than he ever does on SmackDown. They haven't interacted since Hayes left NXT, but Mello and Williams said they've always been squatting in the house he and DIY built. Williams said it wasn't right that he's talked to us about Mello, but also said it was his house. Ciampa made a joke and Mello took offence. DIY then challenged Trick Mello to a match at No Mercy, but the segment ended before they could give an answer. It starts out fine, but ends up falling apart a bit at the end. There's no reasons why Mello and Williams couldn't respond to the challenge that was issued. It felt rushed, even though it had plenty of time, but it was cool seeing them all in the ring together. Before we got Laney Reid versus Fabi Apache in the speed tournament, and both gave a quick promo beforehand. It's kind of taken over from that Twitter thing where 3-minute time matches. Apache fired a dropkick as soon as the bell rang to take control. She had the crowd on their side, but Reid took control right at the end of the first minute. Both women got some near falls as they kept the pace to pack as much in as they could. Apache missed the dive off the tightrope. Reid capitalised to get the win with a few seconds left. It's kind of hard to do anything substantial, but they did a good job. Left room to improve, but it was decent enough. 5 out of 10. Dark State then took on Hank and Tank, and they started off strong by taking out Lennox on the apron and double teaming Griffin, but they were unable to get the pin. We returned for a break to see Dark State in control, but the challengers not out of the fight. They kicked this bout feeling competitive and really slowed down for longer than a second or two to sell something. The energy was great, but everything they did was relatively basic. They relied more on fundamental and taunting than anything. Lennox made the mistake of saying Joe Hendry's name, causing him to burst through a wall and chase them. During the distraction, Hank and Tank ended up losing to a roll-up. The ending was a bit weird, but most of what we got to here was decent. So yeah, I'll give it a 5 out of 10. For the first time in quite a while, WWE then held a flag match between Ethan Page and Taven Heights. A brief video package showing the history of the stipulation played before the entrances, and All Ego tried to go for his flag before the ref even called for the bell. Heights stopped him and seemed way more interested in inflicting damage to White Ray. Despite taking a bad fall out the ring, Page took a while. He almost cost himself the match by bringing Tavian to the corner with the American flag, but he was able to prevent him from putting it down by yanking him off the top rope by his hair. Any kind of match where you have to retrieve an item from a pole is going to feel significantly different from a normal bout, so it's always a little hard to judge these things. They worked hard and did a good job, but it's always hard to get invested in these kind of bouts because it's not about becoming a better wrestler. Heights was able to claim the flag, but sadly for him, the North American Championship was not on the line. Tyler Breeze showed up and posed next to Page's unconscious body, so it's setting up an intriguing match for Homecoming. And yeah, it's nice to see Tyler Breeze as well. I mean, flag matches aren't really my thing, but it was pretty entertaining, and I was also very pleased to see Tyler Breeze come back at the end, so I'll give it a 6 out of 10. The Triple Threat number 1 contenders match was also an elimination contest for the women's tag titles, featuring Nicole, Fatal Influence and Soul Wrecker and Zarya. So the winners would have just to beat both sets of opponents, not just one. One member of each team is legal at all times, so there's a lot of chaos right from the get-go. The ref was giving everyone a lot of leeway since there were fewer rules. Vance and Spears ended up getting taken out by the 4 women who were not in Nicole, and they were tired of their presence at ringside. We returned from a break to see Dame, Henley and Ricka all struggling to get to their feet. Ricka accidentally hit a finisher on Zarya, leading to their elimination. This was a hard-fought match with a lot going on, but it also never really followed the action. After a few close calls, Dame got the win for her team by pinning Henley. JC Jane got on the mic and ran down her teammates for losing, but she was interrupted by shots of someone arriving in a parkour lot as the show went to its final bit, and we returned to see Jane ranting on the mic about how she's the greatest champ. Stephanie Vicker came out and reminded Jane she was a double champion before Tiffany Stratton and Rhea Ripley joined, so this was clearly setting up a 6-women tag match for Homecoming, and it ended with the babyfaces driving Fatal Influence out of the ring. So yeah, wonder how much longer Fatal Influence could have his group together, but yeah, this was very intriguing, and yeah, gets a 6 out of 10 for me. Very excited by where this is all going. Overall, NXT gets a 5 out of 10 for me. It felt like a business as usual episode. It had a handful of matches, helped the hype for next week's big event, and a few storyline developments. Evans and Briggs stole the show with their matches. Both men worked hard to make it entertaining, but Evans definitely stood out a bit more with his high-flying antics, and also good to see some of the returns as well. So yeah, on the whole, a pretty fun episode of NXT. 5 out of 10. That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.